Brought to you by Mystic Lake.
Vikings Live Wild Card Week is presented by Mystic Lake, the official playoff partner of the Minnesota Vikings. This is Vikings Live Wild Card Week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Maynard's in Rogers, Minnesota, and this place is packed. Viking fever is hitting a new high, and it's amazing. We came here, and the first thing everybody asked was, where's Pete Persich? That is the only reason all these people are here.
Tell them I'm behind you. I'm parking your car, taking it to the wash to get it done real quick. A little wax, a buff. You know, the salt. The salt's bad this time of year.
Got to get that off the vehicle. It took me a little while. No doubt about it. Welcome to Vikings Live Wild Card Week. I'm Jim Rich, Ahmad Hicks of Fox 9 Sports, and of course, he needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Persich of the Minnesota Vikings.
Thank you.
All right, Ahmad, coming up in this half hour, what do we got for everybody?
Oh, we're talking a lot. We're going to talk about this defensive matchup with the rematch coming up with the Giants. Of course, we're going to talk about one-on-one with Patrick Peterson, who's playing some of his best football this season, surprisingly. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, this is one of his best years. And then we're also going to break down the wild card matchups around the NFL. So a lot to cover in the next 30 minutes of this show. And of course, you're going to give us all the inside information that we're seeking, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can learn a lot. It's rare not only to make the playoffs sometimes for some teams, but also to play a team that you just played a few weeks ago. So there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot you can tell that the Giants were trying to do coming into this game and what the Vikings were trying to do, what worked, what didn't, how much more are we going to see. So that's one of my favorite parts, I think, of the NFL is the shell game, right? It's how do we continue to, how do we get done the things that we want to get done? And yeah, I'm very, very excited and looking forward to this game on Sunday.
So these teams just met on Christmas Eve. How much can they really change, Pete? How much can you go into that playbook and pull something out that they've not seen?
Not really a whole lot, only because when you scout and you look up a team or you study a team, usually you go back about 3 weeks. Well, if you look at the last 3 weeks for the New York Giants, one game was against us. The next game, I can't remember the game that they had in between, but then the last one against Philly, they didn't even play their starters.
Right.
So you really don't have a whole lot of film to go by. You're really going to go by a lot of the same film that you watched the first time you played them. So that part of the scheme and that part of this matchup is what's very, very unique, and it's going to be interesting to see, with the addition of some New York Giants that are going to play this Sunday that didn't play last time we played them. How much is that going to change them, especially defensively with Adoree Jackson, their corner, coming back? So, yeah, it's going to be pretty fascinating.
Well, I want to ask you this. I know a lot of fans are excited to have a home playoff game at the bank this weekend, but for a player, you being a former player, what are the distractions that go into playing a home playoff game compared to a road playoff game?
So, as a defensive player, when we back in the day or when we were at the Dome, and I'm sure even now at the bank, we actually had to come up and make hand signals, because when we're on the field, that's when it gets loud. Right. So the defense is on the field, you had to come up with hand signals because you couldn't even hear yourself speak, let alone hear somebody else. That's what the opposing offense has to deal with. And, they all have to be on the same page. There's a lot of communication that goes on. And our defense, as a defensive lineman, you're supposed to move when the ball moves.
Right.
So they jump offside on sound. So if they can't hear the quarterback's cadence, that's going to help us a lot. The offense is, the guards look back and they tap the center, and so they have a nice process for that. It's just like a silent count. But there's no question that an offense, when it has to go on a silent count, gives an advantage to the defense. And Danielle Hunter, with how well he played in the last matchup, especially against the rookie right tackle Evan Neal, I expect him to have another really, really big game this Sunday.
We all do.
All right, the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, talked about what it means to get this home field advantage and why they worked so hard to achieve it.
I think, it's important you talk about what the playoffs mean, what type of playoff football, what standard of, playoff football wins in this league. But at the same time, I think it's really important we stay true to simple things like what we think it's going to take to win the game, how we're going to play against this opponent in all three phases. Having played them recently, it's a familiar opponent for us, so we can really dive in on the details of this team and try to best prepare our guys, but also understand that the urgency and understanding how much confidence we have in ourselves and what we've accomplished this year needs to go into our preparation and understand that too much is given, much is required from a standpoint of the opportunity we have in front of us this weekend.
We talked a lot about offense, and obviously offense fills the stands. It gets people excited for the game and cheering and whatnot, but defense, that wins championships. And the Vikings defense has been, we'll say, a roller coaster this season. Sometimes they're really, really good. Sometimes they're not really good. But Danielle Hunter, Za'Darius Smith, they've been really, really good this season. Za'Darius Smith talked about earlier today, he started the season hot, got a knee injury, then Danielle Hunter picked up the slack. What can you talk about that duo and those amount of sacks they've been able to register this year, Pete?
Well, they're definitely a formidable duo, and what's interesting is just how different they are. Right. Danielle Hunter is an outside linebacker, but he's a dedicated, really outside rusher. You don't see him rushing from up in the middle very much. So for Danielle, I think his learning has been just the physicality of the outside linebacker position, especially against the run. I think he has the pass rush side of it figured out. So for Za'Darius, you're going to see him a lot more inside, rushing on the interior lineman. You saw a lot of him against the Giant center, John Feliciano. I think he's a better matchup against their right guard, number 64. I think you're going to see him maybe over there a little bit more. But you could just kind of pick and choose. Remember they did that with Randy White decades ago, right? Wherever your weakness was on your offensive line, number 92 is going to be sitting right on the other side of him. And I think that's something you can definitely do with Za'Darius Smith. And, this defense, we give up a lot of yards, but when we sack the quarterback and create turnovers, that's when they make a difference. And so it's imperative defensively that we get pressure on Jones, and then we sack him, get him on the ground, force some fumbles. Daniel Jones, like any quarterback, he's human. He doesn't like pressure. He gets inaccurate. He missed some open receivers in the last game because those guys were in his face. That has to pick up where it left off. That's where the crowd noise comes in, and that's the momentum that we have to build going into this game.
Well, Za'Darius Smith obviously has playoff experience from his time in Green Bay, and he talked today about what this matchup means and how he and Hunter are getting ready to go after the Giants.
It's big. I say the first half of the season I was going crazy, but, like I said, the injury held me back a little bit, and as you can see, Danielle picked up. So It was good to have both of us, one up and one down. But right now it's the playoffs, and we're ready to go, man, and I'm ready to get after the quarterback.
All right, meanwhile, on the other side, Pete, the Giants' defense is kind of exciting for the Vikings to think about, but it's also treacherous because they're one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, yet they have been able to strip the ball so many times. So what does Dalvin Cook have to watch out for in Alexander Mattison?
Well, it's not just them. A lot of the fumbles that you're seeing here are guys getting hit when they're not ready or not expecting to be hit. So everybody around them has to get their man and get their blocks. And the rest of it's just ball security. And you try to do too much sometimes, guys. We call it going out of body, right? Yes. Don't try to do too much. Like the example right just there on the punt return, or kickoff return. So, ball security is a mindset, and it's something you emphasize all throughout the week, and then you should be fine on Sunday.
Well, ball security and getting Dalvin Cook going. I want you to talk about him. First matchup, only 64 yards, but the Giants are giving up over 5 yards a carry, which is worse than the National Football League. So what does Dalvin need to do in order for the Vikings to be successful?
He's got to stay efficient like he has been. And, you're looking at Dexter Lawrence, one of the best nose tackles in the league, and you watch all these big runs on the highlight film, they're all off tackle. Right, Kayvon Thibodeau is an unbelievable athlete. He's a very, very good pass rusher, but he's not huge, right? And they roll these guys in on the outside. Off-tackle running game has to be big, and the reason it has to be big is because it's going to set up the pass. That's going to allow you to bootleg. That's going to allow you to play fake. It's the same thing that they do. They rely on the crack blocks and all these things, the blocking, in order to open up the passing game. We have to do the same thing. So my answer, Dalvin has to be efficient and continue to get 5-6 yards a carry.
Absolutely. Well, one thing Dalvin also has to deal with is new members of the offensive line. Again, it's a mix and match this week, and he spoke about that out at the facility today, how he plans to make the most of what's in front of him.
like you said, we still waiting on Garrett to see if he's gonna play or not. But next guy up, man. I believe in those guys, each and every one of them. So you never know what a guy's gonna do until it's time to go to war. And we gonna, like I said, we're gonna see on Sunday when it's time to go to war. You know, my guys gonna be right beside me, and I'm gonna be right beside them, you know, ready to play ball.
Right ahead, we go one-on-one with Patrick Peterson. He's the one who says you don't want to poke the bear on Sunday. We'll get into that with him after the break. And also, look at the crowd out here at Maynard's. They're going to be here for quite some time. So if you want to come out and join them, Pete Bursich is going to be here all night signing autographs. He's got a lot of pens with him. He'll be ready to go as we continue here on Vikings Live from Maynard's in Rogers.
You're watching Vikings Live, Wild Card Week, presented by Mystic Lake.
Welcome back to Vikings Live Wild Card Edition. We are live at Maynard's out in Rogers, Minnesota. It's a packed crowd. Anytime you want to come on out, you could join us. All right, this Vikings defense this offseason had a change. New coordinator coming in. Patrick Peterson was a free agent. He could have left town, but he wanted to come back here. When I sat down with Patrick, he explained his reasons why he wanted to remain a Viking.
How much does the game change when you get to the postseason?
A ton, because there's no margin of error. You know, everything matters. Every second matters. Every drive matters. You know, so you have to be on your P's and Q's. There's no more my bads. There's no, oh, I thought I heard this. You have to be on your P's and Q's at all time, because you never know what players may cost you the game.
Teams could have the greatest coaching staffs in the world, but if the players aren't pushing, aren't pulling, it's not going to get done. Is that really what gets a team over the top?
I think it is. It's great to have a great mix of young, middle of the road, and older guys on this football team. You know, I think the makeup of our leadership is kind of the DNA of our football team.
For yourself, looking back, the decision, you could have gone anywhere, right? But you hammered on this door to get back in here.
Yep.
Why was it, or is this why? You saw the potential here and didn't want to miss it.
Yeah, this is no doubt about it the reason why that I wanted to be back here. You know, I saw the potential that we had last year. We just couldn't get the job done. And in the offseason, seeing that was pretty much getting the entire team back from the previous year. And Coach O'Connell was coming over with his pedigree. Then I saw that we hired Ed. I was like, I got to come back. You know, I got to be back, because me and Coach Ed has such a great, long relationship. And Harrison, a guy who I talk to all the time, I told him I want to retire, you know, with him. You know, so it just made that decision that much easier, because I had the opportunity to be around these guys last year, to see the work ethic that they put in, how much they care about one another. And those type of guys I want to be around.
For yourself and the way you approach a receiver, is it depending on who that person is each week, if you're going to engage verbally or not?
Well, you know, honestly,
there's been some good conversations you've been having.
I never go into the game want to, you know, trash talk anyone. It just happens that their sideline, that the opposing team sideline start talking trash, or the head coach may, you know, want to poke the bear a little bit, or the receiver that may have caught a contested catch, you know, he may want to start barking. And with me, with my pedigree, I don't take that very, very lightly. So if you want to start the trash talking and start the jaw jacking, I'm all about that too. And quite honestly, that wakes me up. Every time a team pokes the bear find a way to get the last laugh.
I know. Why? Why would they do something like that?
I enjoy it.
I mean, it'd be the last thing. You'd be like, just leave him alone. Just leave him alone over there. Let him do what he wants. Don't say anything. Everybody's dissing you guys. Does that just fuel the fire? Kind of like when you say they come and poke the bear, this is what you're going to get?
You know, a little bit. You know, the guys just take it with a grain of salt. You know, at the end of the day, we understand that we accomplished the first goal by making it to the postseason. And after that, it's a new season. You know, so it's going to be the top 14 teams in the playoffs. We don't care where you rank us. We're in there. And now all we have to do is just go out there and continue to prove it.
How important is it that Patrick Peterson came back and wanted to come back?
I mean, in hindsight, right now, it's huge. You know, you lose Andrew Booth, you lose Cameron Dantzler. You know, you had a lot of injuries, so we're still pretty thin at that position. Duke Shelley has been a very big surprise. So having him in that meeting room, having him working with the younger guys, teaching them how to watch film, teaching them just how you're supposed to carry yourself, what it's like to be a professional, what it's like to be tested and go against the best receivers week in and week out. What does that mean? What does that look like? Those are all things that he absolutely brings to the table. And you know, and I love the comment on poking the bear. I played with like John Randall and Randall McDaniel. And with Randall McDaniel, it was always, you know, don't upset him. Right. Don't make him angry. You don't want to make him angry. Just let him, you know, be who he wants to be.
Well, you guys know Patrick Peterson, he's bringing a lot of leadership to this secondary. And one guy who's learning a lot from him, Josh Metellus. He was just recently named a captain after Brian O'Neill went down with an injury. And he said he's just been picking up on everything slowly but surely. Now he's getting comfortable being a Viking. And he talked about what it meant to be a captain last week. And he talked about playing in the playoffs for the first time and what the Vikings fans can expect this weekend.
Kirk Cousins, from your point of view, what do you see each and every week about QB1 on your team and why he's able to will you guys to victory in the fourth quarter?
Relentlessness. Great job sitting in the pocket. Kirk's one of the toughest guys I know. You know, he does a great job decision making, quick, decisive, puts the ball on the money. You know, he does everything you want your quarterback to do.
Right. What does it mean to be one of the final teams playing in the NFL right now and knowing that you guys have a chance to go to the Super Bowl?
It means a lot. It means a lot. You know, we all season work for this, you know, to be able to go out there, you know, to show something, to work for something that we had a goal in mind, you know, when we started the season, you know, be able to make that dream become a reality. It means something big.
Can you break it down in layman's terms how much time you guys put in for an opportunity like this? I know fans may see training camp and 18 weeks in the regular season, but how much time, when does the grind start for you guys in the offseason?
I mean, you know, from when we got this team together in April or late March, you know, we've been grinding towards this. So, you know, it's been a lot of hours putting in. You know, I know a lot of people has been working towards this too, but, you know, we got the opportunity to be in this dance. So, you know, all those hours, you know, they don't mean nothing right now. It just matters what we do today and what we do on Sunday.
Last question I have for you. Why are the Vikings going to win this weekend?
Because we got the guys to win.
All right, the Vikings are playing in a big wild card game this weekend, but there's another one going on the AFC side of things between the Jags and the Chargers. We're talking about that when we return.
And also, we're live at Maynard's. Come on out. It's a good time for everybody.
This is Vikings Live Wild Card Week, presented by Mystic Lake.
Welcome back to Maynard's and Rogers. So obviously we're talking a lot about Sunday's matchup between the Vikings and Giants, but on Saturday, primetime game between the Jaguars and the Chargers, two up-and-coming quarterbacks in the National Football League. And I know you have a lot of expertise about the Vikings, but what about Trevor Lawrence? What excites you about that guy?
He's learning the game, right? And he's an unbelievable athlete, like most of those guys are with that program. I've seen some film with the Jaguars throughout the season, and it's been very inconsistent. You know, they look like a young team. They look like a team that, you know, doesn't have a ton of leadership, because one week they're going to look tremendous, and the next week they're going to, I don't even know what they're thinking, right? It's amazing, you know, high to low there. They're not as consistent as they should be. You know, I trust Herbert more than I do Lawrence. And so in this case, in this game, I haven't seen a stitch of film on the Chargers, but I will pick the Chargers to beat Jacksonville.
Okay. So you think that Herbert is the guy of these two quarterbacks at this time of their careers? You think he's the guy that could get this done?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Herbert is very, very good at what he does. He's you know, big guy, another great athlete, great arm, but he reads the field so well. And they ask him to do a lot of things that are not easy to do. And there are many times you'll see him sit in the pocket and just you can see him go through his progressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. And he doesn't make, I don't think he makes the same type of mistakes that Lawrence makes. So this being the first playoff game, I don't know if it's the first playoff game for Herbert. I know it's the first playoff game for Lawrence. Like I said, I just trust Herbert a lot more. And, you know, and then again, the AFC West, the competition that those guys play, he's played some tough teams this year.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. We've got some information for you. If you want to win tickets to go to this Sunday's game, we're giving them away on our website, fox9.com. Go to fox9.com/contests. And the code word tonight is punt. So just go to your computer, log on, do it there. Or you can come out to Maynard's. Pete is going to be here. They're going to do a Vikings country here with Muss right behind us. They're giving away a lot of stuff, and including some tickets. So come on out to Maynard's here in Rogers. That'll do it for us, Pete. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Bringing all your friends. Ahmad, great job. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 in